Hey guys, before we introduce our guest, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the people who have followed me on Patreon. I know I don't have any Patreon subscribers yet, but those who just do the free membership and follow me there and like stuff and make comments, I just want to shout out to you guys for helping out because it really does help me out. I also really enjoy the comments that you guys make on the posts because it's content for the show as well as building a community. I also want to say thank you for following me and rating me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube where I post these episodes as well. Without your guys' help, I could not bring this stuff to light. The more we get engagements and activity on this content, the more that I'm going to be able to spend time into this content, and I'm going to be able to do more episodes. And it's just been so exciting building this with you guys. I know it's only been a little while, but I can just see this growing so far, and I'm really, really appreciative of everyone. So thank you. So yeah, just want to give you a big quick thank you before introducing the guest. So let's do this Mega Man X episode, baby. Hey there, welcome to Retro Reloaded. I'm your host Lance, and each week I tackle a retro game shaped by your picks. If you want a chance to choose next week's game or unlock exclusive bonus episodes and polls, join me on Patreon at patreon.com/retroreloaded. There's even a free tier to dip your toes in. Big thanks for all of your love and support. It means the world to me. Now let's hit the start button and reload those retro vibes. Today, we're going to be talking about Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, 1993. Developed by Capcom, Mega Man X rebooted the classic series with a darker sci-fi edge and more fluid controls. It introduced X's dash, wall kick mechanics, and armor upgrade system that rewarded exploration. A critical and commercial hit, it spawned a beloved sub-series with multiple sequels. Going into the plot, you step into the armored boots of X, a Maverick hunting robot designed to protect humanity. Teaming up with Maverick hunting Maverick Hunter Zero, that's kind of an interesting way to say that. Teaming up with Maverick hunting Maverick Hunter Zero, anyways, you chase down renegade Reploids led by the Ruthless Sigma. Along the way, you collect armored components to enhance your abilities and choose the order in which you tackle 8 powerful robot masters before the final showdown. All right, with all that out of the way, I'm introducing my friend and buddy Nick. He came on last moment to save my butt. I had another guest kind of set up for this podcast for Mega Man X, and Nick came in at the nick of time to save my butt, and he is our guest speaker for today. So welcome on, buddy. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so as I was kind of going over earlier, I played Mega Man X over the last week, and I revisited the game. And we're going to be talking a little bit about my experience, like the good, the bad, the in-between, the things I liked, I didn't like. But before we do all that, I wanted to ask you, what's your history with Mega Man X? How'd you get into this franchise?
Well, it all started with Mega Man, the original on Nintendo. Well, I guess it started with Mega Man 2, and then from there it kind of splintered off to all the other Mega Mans. And then there was one day, I was just a child when Mega Man X came out. It was maybe a 4 or 5 at the time. I don't remember exactly. But I was sitting there at the house. Both my brothers had went to their friend's house for the night. So it was just me by myself. My dad thought it'd be kind of cool to go down to a video store and grab a video game. So we hopped in the car, went down. I think we went to a Safeway, actually. They had a video rental place in there. And I saw Mega Man X there, and I was a little perplexed because I had never seen the X at the end of Mega Man or Mega Man on Super Nintendo at all. And I knew my brother liked it. I knew my brother liked it too, so I was like, man, he's going to flip out when he comes home from his friends the next day and sees this brand new game that we've never even heard of. So I went ahead and rented it. And it's just a whole new mechanics. You got, the sliding and everything. And I was just dying left and right. Considering I was so young, I had no hand-eye coordination either.
Right.
But I played that basically all night. I might have got through maybe like Chill Penguin. at the most. And then the next day, my brother got home. Yeah, he was excited to see it, but he was way better than me. So my first time playing through the game was mostly watching him beat the game, but that's how I got into the first Mega Man X through a
Wow.
Safeway
Okay.
video store.
A Safeway video store. I mean, hey, that's kind of funny they had a video store in Safeway because every time I think of Safeway, I just think of groceries, and that's like it.
Yep.
Um, my video store that I had nearby me was actually, it wasn't Blockbuster, it was Hollywood Video, and it was right across from a Bel Air. Um, and so I don't. But when I first played this game, I think my parents had bought it for me. I think they bought the SNES system, and I don't know, it was a long time ago. I think I was only like maybe, I don't know. I want to say I was like 5 or 4 when I first got my SNES, maybe even younger. So it was pretty early on. So I've had Mega Man X pretty much as long as I remembered. Um, and I just remember being infatuated with the game. Like you were mentioning, like there was like these wall jumping mechanics and the music, and we're gonna go into all of this, but it just I was like so shocked and overwhelmed how awesome the game was. How old were you when you first played?
I want to say it was 4 or 5. I don't remember the exact age or anything. I was
Okay,
young.
right. So me and you are probably. It sounds like we might be kind of close to the same age. I graduated in '09. So
All right. Yeah, I graduated '08, so just one
okay,
year
yeah,
apart there.
super close. Yeah. So me and you had probably a similar experience with that. Yeah. So do you like, out of curiosity, do you like the X games more than the normal Mega Man games, or?
I've thought about that a lot, throughout my life, and I can't decide. If sometimes I'm in the mood for X, and in that moment, I'm going to love the X games way more than the original ones. And sometimes I'm just in the mood for playing, the originals, or I might be in the mood for 7 or 8, which play different than the first 6.
Okay.
But I
Wow.
definitely can't choose between the originals and the X's.
So I don't have a lot of experience with the originals. Very, very, very little. And then I have some experience with X. Um, but I did go back and try to play. I think it might have been Mega Man like 2, 3. It was an older one, and I remember it being like, "Why can't I do all this like wall jumpy stuff that I can do?" Like what's going on? Like I don't, I so it didn't hook me in like Mega Man X did. But I bet if I went back and played those, I bet I would have a newfound respect for them. I was just really young when I tried normal Mega Man. I was like, wait, is this like, why is this so different from Mega Man X? Um, and I also really do. I like the look of Mega Man X compared to normal Mega Man. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like he's kind of I don't know. He's kind of like a cool looking edge lord type of character in Mega Man X. Like he's like super cool, and he looks like he's just ready to rock and roll. And in normal Mega Man, I feel like he kind of looks like a chibi character a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah, he's more
And
cute, I would say. But what do you think?
no, I agree with you in that sentiment. And I would say part of that comes down to the SNES itself. Because if you look at Mega Man 7, where they transitioned into the SNES, he still definitely looks a little more cartoony and lighthearted, but he's more fleshed out than the previous 6 before that. But no, I do agree. X is a more hardcore version of Mega Man.
Okay. And as far as the plot goes, they do differ, right? Because I think I was noticing the plot from Mega Man. This is my unprofessional, I don't know what I'm talking about opinion. It seemed like there was like a doctor, the evil doctor who didn't like Doctor Light or Wily or what, I don't know. There was I forget the names, but evil doctor doesn't like the good doctor in the original Mega Man series, and then in Mega Man X, it's like super robots, Terminator style, try to take over the world, and Mega Man and his friends are like trying to beat them, right?
That's essentially it in a nutshell. So the connection between them is Dr. Light in the capsules that you find to get the upgraded armor in Mega Man X is the good doctor from the original Mega Man games.
Oh,
And then,
okay. So he's the same
and
doctor.
then yep, that's the same one. This is I forget what it is, like 100 years in the future. So he's long dead, and he left these capsules behind for Mega Man X. And the story is that Mega Man X wasn't ready to be released from his capsule in Dr. Light's lifetime. So he set it up where he'd stay in his capsule until it was safe for him to come out and, I don't know, analyzing his program or whatever. And then when he came out, he would have all these upgrade capsules to find.
Oh, okay. So these stories they're not different like realities. I for some reason I had the assumption that there was a completely different reality. So one's just in the past and one's in the present.
Yep.
Okay. And so Mega Man takes precedent, I mean, it is in the past, and it's like that's when Dr. Light was alive, I'm assuming, and
Mhm.
Wily, and then in the future he's dead, and it's like you see the holograms of him, and he's like, "Hey X, I got these power-ups for you." And then Sigma, by the way, guys, if there is a weird cut in the audio here, I did get a phone call during the podcast, so I had to pick it up. I had to make sure it was an emergency. But we were talking about the lore, and we were talking about the past and the present with Sigma and Light. And so my next question was going to be, is Sigma connected to Dr. Wily at all?
Um, so it's not stated directly like in the games. This kind of goes into the lore, but Dr. Wily created Zero, and then Sigma went in and I believe he either the capsule was already released or he released the capsule. I don't remember. There's a short little clip of it in Mega Man X4 that you can watch, but they get in a fight, Zero and Sigma. And when Zero hits Sigma's, or no, when Sigma hits Zero, he gets infected with whatever Wily had put in Zero. And that's the virus, the Sigma virus, if you want to call it that. That's what they call it in the later games. And that's what corrupts him, essentially. Because Sigma was a Maverick hunter at one point. He was a good guy.
Oh, okay. And so he wasn't originally the leader of the Mavericks then. He kind of just became the leader of the Mavericks.
Yes, yes. Yep.
Okay. And I'm guessing, is there another like pre leader before Sigma or something like that, and then Sigma took over, or?
Not that I know of. I'm not super into all the lore, so there may be more that I'm missing there.
Okay.
But prior to Sigma, I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah. So I was just kind of curious. And now I'm gonna go into some like maybe fun questions for you. If you could add a modern weapon to X's arsenal, like example, a homing plasma rifle, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know. I'm trying to think of because he has a lot of weapons.
He does, and if you add all his weapons he gets in the next 7 games on top of that, you've got quite a few to choose from. So I'm trying to think of something different, but he has like one of everything already.
He's literally like every
You
weapon
know?
in the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You even get the Zero Saber at one point, so you can't say that either.
yeah. Out of the
Which
so
that probably would have been my choice, Zero's Z Saber, if he hadn't already got it.
so he gets it in later games. He gets the Z Saber.
I I want to say, it's one of those secrets that you have to work for. It's not a weapon in the game itself. If you were to just play through it normally, it'd be something you either read in the strategy guide or figure out by accident or something. But you can get it, and I believe it's Mega Man X3, and you can get it towards the end of the game. And it's one of those weapons that does like half a enemy's bar of damage.
Oh, okay. So it's like a secret unlockable weapon you can get in X3.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay, okay.
It,
I did. This is a little off topic, but I have played X5, and I think it was I want to say it was like a PlayStation game or something.
mhm. It came out originally on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, and you can play as or Zero in that game. So I'm kind of surprised. Like maybe in X3, can you play as Zero?
You can. That's where they first introduced Zero, but he wasn't a fully playable character in the entirety of the game. And it wasn't really explained unless you had a manual with the game, which you didn't always get at these rental places either. But you would have to go into your start menu, and then there was no prompt. You'd have to go into start menu, then you'd have to hit select, I believe, and then it would slide over a secondary menu of Zero, and you could choose to swap him in uh, versus playing as X for that level. The caveat was you couldn't fight bosses or mini bosses except for one in the later stages with him. If you got to one of those doors and you tried walking through it, a little prompt would come up that X says, "All right, I'm coming back," or whatever. And he'd come back in, and then you'd finish off the level with X. The one issue with that game was once you died as Zero, you could not play with him again.
Oh, so it's like high
Yeah.
risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I remember in X5, you were able to just basically you played through the same storyline, pretty much almost identical. I think there's some differences, like especially towards the end. And you would just play as Zero. And I remember the game being like twice as easy with Zero, like for some reason. I think I had one of my viewers in stream actually say the fact that Zero is capable of like hitting the bosses more than once when you hit them, and that's what makes them easy. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if he's talking about X5 or whatever, but I do remember just for some reason the game being way easier as Zero. It's been a long time since I played, so it's hard to remember all that. But so in the original Mega Man X game, which Maverick boss gave you the most trouble, and how did you finally beat them?
Well, now you're going back to the early 90s, and that's going to be a tough one for me to answer because ever since then, I've always used their weaknesses on them to kill them. But if I were to fight one of the bosses with just the Buster, which would make it more difficult, I'd probably say Launch Octopus because he's always hitting you with the homing torpedoes or whatever they are. And he's spinning around real fast trying to suck you in. So if I was just going at him with the Buster, that'd probably be the most difficult. If I hadn't beat the game, 120 times since it came out, it may be difficult. But right now, I think I could still do that.
Yeah. I mean, if you beat it that many times, you probably could. You probably can beat this thing like with your eyes closed. I mean, I could. I mean, it was. I struggled, man. Some parts I struggled. I'll go into some of the bosses, but yeah, it was rough. So just out of curiosity, Launch Octopus, what is his weakness?
That is Armored Armadillo's weapon.
Okay.
But so the cool thing with X is another thing they implemented is the environment changes depending on like who you defeat beforehand and stuff. And also certain weapons will affect people differently. So if you use, I believe his name is Boomer Coanger, he has that little boomerang weapon. If you use that on Launch Octopus, you can cut his arms off before getting at him with the his weakness. And you can use that same weapon on Flame Mammoth to cut his trunk off as well.
What? Oh, okay, so I did cut off the arms of Launch Octopus, so I originally had thought that was his main weakness, but I guess it's the rolling armadillo thing. Ironically.
Yeah. Yep. The armadillo thing, but you can cut his arms off first and make it a little bit easier as well.
Yeah, so that's so we'll talk about some of the good real quick because we're talking about the weaknesses. I think this is something the game did really well, is that each boss, basically you could imagine that they have a hard mode and an easy mode. And what I mean by that is that each boss has a weakness weapon that makes them like significantly easier. Or you could just fight them with like your normal Buster and it's like the hard mode of the boss, basically.
Yeah.
And I think I found that so interesting because for veterans who want to replay this game and want to go through like a hard mode, they can use the Buster. But if you are like a newbie and you need help and you just experiment with a couple of different weapons, you can kind of find a weakness to this boss. That being said, you are limited on life, so experimenting can be detrimental to your gameplay unless you're playing it on an emulator and use save state, like I did, because I'm a noob. I save scummed. I tried not to, but there were certain bosses I save scummed a lot, and one of them was the last boss. But yeah, it was it. The weaknesses are super cool, and I think that's what makes this game really cool. Is that one of the things is that there's a hard mode and an easy mode. And so you were saying you mostly just kind of do the weakness thing these days, or?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix, really. If I'm just trying to like get through the game, kill some time or whatever, I'm gonna use all those weapons. And if I'm actually just gonna sit down and have some fun with it and stuff, then I'm gonna go at it with, maybe just the Buster or something. Just
Okay.
throw a little variety in there.
Right, right. I mean, like it sounds like you could probably beat this whole game with the Buster and not even bat an eye. What's your favorite Robot Master stage design in the whole game?
Um, Gotta think through all the bosses right now and imagine their stages.
Yeah,
I'm really
right.
partial to Storm Eagles.
Okay.
I think part of that is, you know, you got all these platforms and all these enemies coming at you, but also you got that rocking tune just amping you up.
Okay. Yeah, I do like. Man, the music in this game, man. That's another good point I had. Was that the music in this game on these levels is just so good. I'm a big rock and roll guy, and this game has plenty of that. Like it has but it's almost like 8-bit, not 8-bit, but 16-bit rock and roll. Like it's got that retro theme to it, but it's like rocking out, you know?
Yeah.
It's super cool. I mean, the
And
opening stage, oh man. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna agree with you there as far as the 16-bit goes, because if you play Mega Man X 1 through 3, there's different music, but they're all gonna have that same kind of hardcore, like electric rock aesthetic. And then you get into Mega Man X4 and forward, where basically it's CD quality music, but there's something different about it. It's not as gritty. It's not as you'd say 16-bit. So
Mm.
you lose something after X3 there from the music. And I definitely appreciate the first three X games music in comparison to the rest.
Yeah, I mean I mean that music it's like it's got a unique sound to it. I don't know, but I just remember even back in the day, I do remember the music just being so good. And this is one of my big memories even when I was so young, that like that opening stage where you go on there and it's just like you know, and it's just like but it's like
Yeah.
18-bit and you're like, "Whoa, dude, I'm ready to go." Like, and you're getting pumped up, you know, and you're like, start running through the stage and things are happening. Cars are flying by. And this is in the SNES era. So you can imagine like this is like a huge deal, you know, like with everything going on. And you're able to charge up your lasers. And the first moment you like wall jump, I mean, the introduction to this game like gets you hooked right off the bat. It doesn't start you out slow. You know what I mean? It's like, let's go. It's time to rock and roll like immediately. Um,
Well,
which is something I appreciate.
that's that's another new addition to the series. Mega Man as a whole was the intro stages. You didn't have that prior in any of the previous Mega Mans. I believe Mega Man, I want to say, yeah, Mega Man 7 had an intro stage also for the SNES, but that came out after Mega Man X. So Mega Man X was the first one to really introduce those intro stages where you jump right into the action. And I think that really helped it out a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So, out of curiosity, what other big differences between the intro stages and the wall jumping and stuff? What were the other big differences between the original Mega Man and X? Do you know?
Yeah, yeah. So you got your armor. That's a big thing. Um, Other than that, it's more fast paced. You got your sliding, you got your wall jumping, and then you got the slide jump combo, which is something I did not pick up as a kid right away, just because of my hand-eye coordination, dexterity, and all that. But you slide and you hit the jump and you go twice as far. That's back in all the other Mega Man games, you kind of creep up to the edge of a jump and hope you make it. But here you got to do that slide and long jump over some of the gaps,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to get like all the heart containers, E containers, and all the secrets that you need to get. You might have to do a long jump from one side of the level to the other to reach it.
Yeah, you know what was a pain? So that reminds me, there's a upgrade for your weapon, and in order to get it, you have to like hit your hard, like you have to get the helmet upgrade first, and then you have to like
Mhm.
hit your head on the top of these bricks, like a Mario. But in order to hit your head on top of these bricks, you have to like do that slidey jump, but it has to be
Yep.
almost pixel perfect because if you do it too short, like you're not going to hit it. It took me like I don't know 20 tries or more to like do this slidey jump into it hit the first time I messed it up. I actually got up there and I was like, finally I did it, and I dropped back down. And I was like, no. And like once you mess it up, you have to like restart the level. Thankfully, it's not like too far into the level, but yeah, it was rough for me because
Yeah.
I just wasn't like that good at doing it. But I can see that mechanic. If you were a speedrunner, being super important. Is that true? Like if you speedrun this game, you have to like do that slidey
Yeah.
jump
You
thing.
know, I'm no speedrunner, but absolutely that's going to accelerate your game immensely.
Yeah, because you just fly. I mean, it's fast. You're like flying when
Yeah.
you do that. Um, so that was a really cool mechanic. And what was another hard mechanic for me to pull off was and just because it's hard doesn't mean it's bad. I just I want to preface that. There was another hard mechanic that I struggled with. That was it was like doing the slidey wall jump off of a wall. So like you're stuck to a wall and then you try to slide jump off of it. That was hard for me.
Yep.
Because you have to press
Yeah.
it fast, like it's like
Yeah, nowadays I don't even think twice about it. But no, when I first started playing it, doing the slide jump off the ground was hard enough for me, let alone off a wall. Absolutely.
yeah, they make it to where you have to really press the buttons at like the timing has to be right. And
Hmm.
but that's cool about this game because you can replay it and just get better and better and better. But you can also beat the game as a semi novice. I'm not going to say this is the hardest game of all, but it's definitely by no means an easy game. In my opinion, I think it's probably like somewhere in the middle of difficulty spikes because there's certain parts of the game that are really difficult, and then there are other parts of the game that are just really easy. Like Chill Penguin stage is like, pretty much anybody can do that, I would say. But then you get to like Sigma stage, and it's like 3 fights back to back to back to back. And unless you have heart containers or just know the fights really, really well, which eventually you're going to have to, in order to beat Sigma, you're going to have to know the fights pretty well. Um, you're going to die a lot, you know. So, yeah, and I remember, I vaguely remember, funny enough, X2's last final boss fight being harder than X1. Is that right?
Um, I would say the Sigma body because he always has at least two forms. So in Mega Man X2, I'd say when you fight Sigma in his normal body, it is harder than Mega Man X. And then if you get to his final form where it's just his floating head, in the past I would say it was harder because back then I had no idea what his weakness was. Nowadays I would say that's one of the easiest bosses in the game, the floating Sigma head.
Okay, I think I was thinking about the body form, like the part that he is the body in.
Yeah,
But
he has a lot more moves in X2 and projectiles and stuff like that. And in X1, he's just using that lightsaber mostly. So there's not a whole lot of. Once you get a rhythm down in X1, he's pretty easy.
yeah, I struggled more with the second phase. Like once I got the first phase done, honestly, the dog is harder than he is. Like the dog you fight before him, the Velguard or whatever.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because once in a great while he'll be a little unpredictable with his jumping, in my opinion. And I'm like, okay, dude, like or he'll be quick, is what I should say, not unpredictable. He's like he'll do his input really fast, and so you got to be quick. But yeah, no, it took me a while. I save stated it to the point where I beat the Velguard and I beat the first form. Like I probably beat them both like 3 or 4 times. And then I couldn't. I like kept on getting into that last stage and just dying immediately. And I was like, dude, I can't do this. I just want to like beat the last stage. And I finally did. And I feel like the last stage, if you're a novice, it's like kind of RNG because sometimes he'll put the hand down on the ground and sometimes he won't. And he'll just be like doing the flamethrower along with like the lightning. And sometimes you'll get in a weird spot where you're like stuck in between lightning and flamethrower. You're like, oh, what do I do? But I'm sure you have like a better strategy than I do. But as a novice, I was like, ugh! Like I would get stuck. But I eventually did it, and I think I did it with an extra heart container. So I think I did like my RNG was really good that round. But some of the rounds, he just like murked me like instantly. He was like, "Oh, time for you to go." Like, bye bye. Kind of funny. But yeah.
Let's say nowadays, so the product, it's a product of its time. Mega Man X. Back then, you didn't have the internet. You didn't, unless you went to the store, you didn't have a strategy guide or anything like that. So there's a whole lot of replayability, and there's a huge chance that you're not going to have all the items you need when you get to him in the past. Nowadays, you can go there with all your E tanks. So you can have 4 full health bars if you want. You could look up his weakness. You could spam him real quick. There's all sorts of different routes you can take to make the last boss easy now. You know, I think if you released a game like this nowadays, the kids may not like it as much because maybe it's too easy. I don't know. But it was definitely harder back then because all these secrets you had to, get from your friends. You had to figure out yourself, stumble upon it, one thing or another. So you didn't always have a full arsenal going up to that final boss.
Yeah. So I feel this. The thing is, I didn't look up a walkthrough. I hate looking up walkthroughs unless I have to. I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'll look it up if I'm stuck. Like if I'm stuck for like 30 minutes, I'm looking up a walkthrough. Okay. Like I have and it's mostly because of time. Like I think back then in the old days, I didn't mind grinding if I was stuck for 2, 3, 4 hours, 2 days, 3 days, it didn't matter because that's the game I had and that's the game I was going to play. But nowadays, if I get stuck for like 30 minutes, but I still do my best not to look at walkthroughs because I don't want to be led through my experience. Does that make sense? Like I want to have like an original experience with the game.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And I did have a couple of Twitch viewers who, when they noticed I was like struggling on a boss, they were like, "Hey, dude, just try this like weapon or whatever." They were trying to be, they don't backseat game that much, which is kind of nice. I actually appreciate that. But when they notice I'm like just dying and dying and dying, they're like, "Hey, buddy, how about do you try this like this weapon on this boss?" I'm like, "Okay, like I guess I'll try that." But yeah, no, it was I would say, if I had to rate the game on a difficulty spike or not difficulty spike, on a difficulty scale, I would say like for me it was a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. And that, I'm not a pro gamer, so take that with a grain of salt. For you, what would you rate? I mean, I guess now it'd probably be on the lower tier, but if you could be objective about it, what do you think Mega Man's like difficulty rating would be?
Well, I guess it depends on how good you are at video games. I said I started when I was a kid. I didn't beat it that first time. My brother beat it the first time. The first time I beat it, and honestly, the first version of Mega Man X I've owned was actually for Windows. I was walking through a Target and I saw Mega Man X there. Crap. So I asked my mom to buy it for me. She did. Came in a big box with a controller. Back then I called it a paddle. Very similar to an original Sega Genesis controller. So it had 3 buttons and a directional pad, which made the game a little bit harder for me back then as well, because I was used to a Super Nintendo controller. But so for a kid just going into it, I would say the difficulty is probably going to be, 9 or 10. If maybe a teenager, someone who's played games for a while, I would agree it'd probably be like, 7 or 8, possibly a 6, depending on how good they are at games. And then if it's a game you've beat 100 times and you know all the secrets and you know all the weaknesses and everything to look for, yeah, it's going to be pretty easy.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's where I kind of expected the ratings to be, just out of my experience, So I think again, like, you have a hard mode and easy mode, so this game can appeal to everybody. So if you're somebody who's not very good at video games and you go into Mega Man X, just look up a little strategy guide, and the game's going to be twice as easy. Like, the game is This is what's cool about Mega Man. It's kind of made for everybody, in my opinion. You don't have to play the hard mode unless you're just stubborn like me and you try to. But yeah, you can go through this in an easy mode if you're not very good at games. I wanted to go over a couple of bad points about the game. That I personally, I wouldn't say it was kind of, this is one of those games that I had a hard time finding bad things about. Because it's so good in so many ways. But one of the bad points that I felt was that the story felt shallow, and it doesn't feel very important. I like stories in games, and I know it's a platformer, so I can't really expect a big important, it's not an RPG. I can't really expect this big important story to this game. But it was kind of like it's like, okay, Mega Man Zero, good robots, good doctor, and then it was like, oh, bad robots, they're bad, taking over the world, beat those guys. That's kind of how I felt the story was.
Yeah.
It didn't feel much deeper than that, but I don't know. What do you think about the story in this game?
It's funny. I'd never had thought about the story when I was younger until, I started playing more into Mega Man X4, where it was a little more fleshed out and had more characters, more story to it. But prior to that, I don't even remember looking at the manuals. I know back in the 90s, a lot of the stories were a section of the manual. So there may be more to the story that I never read. But as far as everything being shown in game, yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. A lot of it kind of relies on lore, and a lot of it is addressed in later games, in X4, 5, 6, 7, so forth.
Hmm. Yeah, so I think sorry, were you going to say something?
No, no, so I was just clearing my throat.
Okay. Yeah, I think that they probably weren't really worried about the story in this game, because they just wanted to make a really fun, good platformer. And I don't, what would you call it? An action platformer? I don't really know, like, what.
Yeah, I've heard action platformer. I've heard action RPG. You can call it whatever you want. I
Okay.
see it as basically just a 2D side scroller action game.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I would probably call it like an action platformer, because it's not like Mario where you're like just jumping and avoiding stuff. Like you're fighting stuff like the entire time. I guess you could call it an RPG. I feel like an RPG is a little bit of stretch. I guess the RPG element
Yeah,
would be the fact that you would be upgrading body armor, right?
yeah, upgrading body parts, weapons, and just the various things you can change about your character, which is it's a stretch. It's a stretch for sure. It's just something I've heard it called in the past. So
Yeah, I mean, call it. I don't really care what people call it. It's up to them. I mean, I wouldn't call it an RPG, but yeah, I get the premise. Yeah, so yeah, it's like an action platformer. Where was I? I don't even know what I was going with that. Where I was going with that point, to be honest. But yeah, it's an action platform. I can't even remember what the heck I was saying. Anyways, yeah. So the game's story basically is shallow, but they address that in future games. It sounds like they really they weren't really interested in hammering in that story until later, because maybe they didn't know. I think a lot of these games, they don't know if they're going to be smash hits or not. Sometimes.
mhm.
So sometimes they'll just invest a lot of time into just one element. They were like, okay, listen, we just want the game to be really fun. And then if the game takes off, we'll develop on the story later. And then I think that's how
Yeah,
Mega Man X probably went. Um,
yeah. I think some of the lore regarding Dr. Wily's involvement in all this actually started in Mega Man X2. So that kind of falls along the lines of what you were saying, where they were just trying to get this first one out. And then after that, they slowly started incorporating a little bit more from that point forward.
yeah. And Capcom, man, they were kind of rocking it during these times. I think another game they made that was heavily inspired by this game, and then probably a lot of people haven't played it, but have you ever heard of something called Demon Crest?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so Capcom made another game, and it feels like not like a clone, but it takes a lot of elements from this game. I don't know which one was made first, but I'm assuming it was X. So this series really started I don't know if you want to call it a trend, because I'm trying to think of other games that copied it, but I mean, it really started a big series, because how many X games are there now? Is there like 10?
There's 8 X games, they actually made an RPG game. So if you include that one, there's 9 of them.
Okay, what's the RPG game called?
I believe it's Mega Man X Command Mission.
Oh, I did hear about that one. That's so interesting, because I always considered the Mega Man RPG to be Mega Man Legends. So I'd like to try it, but it's not a Mega Man X game. You know, Command Mission is in a Mega Man X game, I think. So
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Did you like it? Did you play it?
I have never played that one all the way through. You know, I've played parts of it, and it was really tough for me to get into it, just because when you're thinking Mega Man X, you're thinking more fast paced, and this one's a little bit slower. So I don't know. One of these days I'm going to finish it, but I have not yet.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Maybe I'll do it for one of the podcast episodes, is go back and play that game. Another bad point I had, that was just annoying for me because I'm bad at the game, is that there's these respawning enemies, and they're infinitely respawning. So, for example, you'll kill an enemy, and if you like go back a screen, like maybe an inch, that enemy will come back to life. And it's like, it's like, hey buddy, like, you remember me? You're like, dude, what? So like this mostly annoyed me on the vertical portions of the game. So like when you're climbing walls and you like kill an enemy, and then you go back down a little bit, like, and then you try to go back up, like that guy's back, you know, and he's like, hey buddy, like, I'm not gone. And so I don't know why they designed it like that. I think they just wanted you to like overcome this obstacle, but they respond. Yeah, go ahead.
And say, I think they may have designed it that way, because I understand what you're saying, and it took me a while to realize it growing up. But Sting Chameleons, once you upgrade your charge shot, you can charge up all the weapons too. I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
But you charge up Sting Chameleon shot, and it gives you invincibility for a set amount of time. So if you charge up his shot on those difficult portions and try to get through it as fast as you can actually get through some of those heavily guarded vertical areas of the stages.
Oh, you know, I didn't think about this was my first time that I realized Sting Chameleon had an invulnerable like charge shot in the game. I didn't know. And I mean, you're not going to have that in the beginning of the game unless I guess you do it in a certain order. But once you do have that, I was like, wait, there's an invulnerability in this game? Like, that's super OP. And so I do wonder, like you were kind of saying, that maybe they designed the levels around this invulnerability possibly a little bit. But yeah, if you don't use that, you got to be careful about going back a screen just a little bit, not even a lot of it. Just like if you go back like an inch, like these guys will respawn on you, and you're going to have to deal with them all over again.
Oh yeah.
And that happened to me a lot. And I think, I think it was only bad because it's like, yeah, I finally dealt with them. And then like I accidentally would go back a little bit, and they're like, hey, and so I had to deal with them again. And I think that maybe they designed it like that because they didn't want people taking an easy way out. Because I could see how you could maybe cheese mechanics like that if you were like, I don't know. So maybe they wanted it to be a certain level of difficulty for people. But yeah, it was kind of a little gripe of mine, but it was no big deal.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of portions with those, and I think the main problem with that, like you said, is the vertical portions where if you get hit, you might fall back down a little bit, go to the platform below or whatever, and then you got to refight that guy. And I know there's a lot of those enemies that have the shield up too, so you can't shoot them directly in front of them, so you'd have to find another way to hit them.
Yep.
and it makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah, those damn shield guys. The son of a
I
bees,
know.
dude. You gotta wait for those guys. Like a lot of this is patience too. Like you're kind of timing stuff. And if you're
Hmm.
impatient sometimes, like you're gonna get yourself killed or hurt or whatever. And yeah, those shield guys are a perfect example of that. You're like, come on, just hurry up and throw your thing at me so I can like shoot you. And eventually you get good at it if you like know what you're doing and you know the exact amount of health that those guys have. Like you can destroy them, but
Yeah.
they're a little hard at first. Um, but other than that, that was pretty much all the bad points I had of the game, and a lot of those bad points were not super big deals. They were minor, just little things that you can. They're little things that you can get used to. The more you play the game, and the better you get at it.
Yeah. And again, going back to the game being a product of its time, is you didn't have, updates, expansion packs, or anything back then. So they wanted you to play this game more than one time. They wanted you to go back and find everything and get the power ups and get the shield and the hidden weapons. Speaking of hidden weapons, during your playthrough, did you happen to get the Hadoken?
The is that the super the fourth charge? So there's like one charge, two charge, three charge, four charge. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, no, it's a fifth capsule from Dr. Light.
What? No, I don't think I got
It's a
it.
secret. It's a secret capsule. There's a series of events you have to do, and don't quote me on this. I don't remember exactly, but I believe you have to have all the heart containers, all the E tanks. You have to have all the weapons. You go through Armored Armadillo's stage, and towards the end, you're riding this platform that just plows through all the enemies and stuff, and then goes over this giant canyon right before the boss's door.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And then you can jump off. You can like slide jump off that platform before it gets to the door, and then wall climb up to a little notch, a nook, if you will, um, in the mountain wall. And there's nothing there, and you have to like jump off and go. I think you have to like kill yourself a few times in the giant canyon, and then you go back to that same nook, and there's going to be a capsule there as long as you have like full health and everything. And then once it pops up, Dr. Light will be in there, but he'll be slightly different. He'll be wearing a bandana, unlike Ryu from Street Fighters. And then he'll give you the Hadoken, which is, an attack from Street Fighters that I want to say it's a one hit kill for most enemies,
That
including
what?
bosses.
That's
But you
crazy.
can't you can't just use the Hadoken. In order to use the Hadoken, you have to have full health. So if you get hurt, you can't use it anymore. And it's not a weapon that you choose in your menu. You actually have to input the what is it? Down, down, right, forward, shoot, kind of like a Street Fighter move. So you have to input an actual move to shoot it.
That's I mean that's a pretty cool I would say that's a pretty cool Easter egg then. Cuz
Oh yeah.
in order to get it you pretty much have to beat like the entire game it sounds like. And you also have to have some skill to use it cuz it's a Street Fighter move and funny enough I think Street Fighter was also Capcom. So
Hmm.
that's kind of cool that they paid a homage to their own game like that. And I think that's a really cool Easter egg for those who have played this game a lot cuz if you're just going through this game for your first time and you don't know about that, or even your second time, third time, unless you look it up, you're not going to know about that. And the reason I was like, you were like, oh yeah, the armadillo stage where you like ride this thing and there's a canyon. The reason I was like, oh yeah, I remember, is because I died at that point in the game because like you're like oh, just riding this thing. It's like you're like doo doo like you're just chilling, and then it hits the wall and it just it murks. If you don't jump off of that thing, it just murks you like instantly. You're like, whoa, what the
Yep.
hell? But that's so funny. That was just a funny part when I was playing the game. People were like, they laughed at me because they were like, "Bro." um. So yeah. Also, a boss actually struggle with. This is like a little tidbit. That damn spider boss, dude. What the hell's up with that guy, man? That guy was hard for me.
Yeah, you need to analyze his path because he has those horizontal bars that go across it. He's going to follow those no matter what. So he's going to start from, say, the left, hit that bar, go to the right, and go to the next bar down, whatever that is, and keep going that way to the end, and then go the opposite way. So It's kind of hard to just explain with words. If you have an image up, you could follow the path, but he's always going to go to the bar directly. The first one he touches, he's going to go across it vertically, or sorry, horizontally. So
Okay,
if you can
yeah.
follow those bars, because they have a lot of bars on there, he's not going to hit every one. So if you can analyze where he's going to land on the ground, you just got to move out of his way and hit him when he's vulnerable.
Yeah, so I did see those bars, and I did notice that's the pattern he was doing, but I felt like it was too fast for me. Like I tried, I was like, wait a minute, hold up. So like he basically will go across every time he hits a bar, right? Is that
Yep, every single time he touches it. Yep,
yeah? So there's a point where he's gonna go like across sometimes like 3 or 4 bars, and
yep,
you have to be able to to analyze it really quickly and decide where he's going to drop down.
mhm,
I wasn't able to do it, and he even gets faster. I wasn't able to do it at the slow part. So he gets like he gets faster, and then he gets faster, and he gets so
yep,
fast that you're like what like I guess if you're really good at quickly analyzing stuff like that, it's pretty impressive. I asked my
yeah.
chat.
And
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you don't have to like know exactly where he's going to land. Sometimes there's going to be a bunch of bars only on, say, two of the landing spots. And if you know he's going to be on one of those two, just go to the other side of the room and get ready to shoot him. So even if you half analyze and have an idea of where he's going to land, that could help you out too.
Those were the only times I could analyze it. Was when there was bars, there was no connecting bar in the middle. So if there's no
Mhm.
connecting bar in the middle, I'm like 100% he's going to land on this portion of the room, so I can stand on this side of the room. That was the only time. Other than that, it was like, all right, dude, let's just hope he doesn't land on me. So I would like try to avoid it. My one of my viewers in chat said they were able to like see it. They're like, oh yeah, I can do this, but I also read really fast. Was what they were saying, and I was like, okay. I mean, I because I was like, there's no way they expect us to like do this. But then somebody said that they're like, no, I could do it, and I was like, okay, I suck. I'm like, okay, I'm bad at it. But so yeah, there is a strategy, but f that boss, man. Like it was all RNG for me. It was all RNG for me. Um, but you get, again, mad because bad. Um, so I'm going to basically rate the game, and I'm going to rate it. But before I rate it, I'm going to ask your final thoughts and what would you rate it out of 8 Robot Masters?
Well, that's not very fair because I'm pretty biased. But if
Right,
I
right.
would give say the first four Mega Man X games 8 out of 8, if you ask me. If I rated it, between all the games, I would say it's out of all 8. I'd say it's the number 3, right behind Mega Man X2 and Mega Man X3.
Okay,
And
so
that's just my opinion.
you like X2 and X3 more?
Yes, I like X2 and X3 more than X1, and a lot of people like X1 more than X2 and X3, but that's not my case.
Okay, so you give it an 8 out of 8. Does that mean Mega Man's your favorite franchise?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
That's been my favorite ever since I was a kid. Ever since I couldn't even beat the games, just watching my brothers play on the original NES.
Yeah, yeah,
That
it's
was
amazing.
that was it for me.
I noticed the people who love, and this seems to be the same with a lot of these games, but the people who love Mega Man, and I don't blame them, dude. I in middle school, I was so obsessed with Mega Man Legends that, and I know that's a different type of game, so we could talk about that all day. But Mega Man Legends so much that I would like in middle school, I would draw Mega Man, like just drawing Mega Man there sitting and like he'd be like in different scenarios and stuff, and I just loved it. And later on I ended up drawing like DBZ characters and stuff like that. But like even in my Discord, I saw people posting collections. Like one guy posted all these Mega Man stuff, and people are like making Mega Man, what do you call it, like different completely new games, like rehashed from the original games. They're making like a new mods and ROMs and all this stuff and fan made stuff. They love these games, and so I really have a respect for that passion that people have for these games, and I think it's super cool. Now as far as my rating goes on this game, and my final thoughts. I think this game is a masterpiece, and I think Mega Man, for all the admiration it gets, is well deserved, to be honest. And I think Mega Man X, for being, what is it now, 31 years old or something like that. It's
somewhere around
30 plus years old for sure. It has held up to the test of time. And some of these games don't. Some you'll go back and play them and you're like, it wasn't as good as I remember. I went back and replayed it this week. And it was as good as I remember. I don't have that same shock value that I did back then, but it was still so good. And the platforming was good, and it was smooth. It wasn't like rigid or crickety or like, man, like what was, I didn't get hit by that. I felt like the hitboxes were relatively fair. I felt like the movement was just, it was cookie crisp, man. So I guess all that being said, and with the little gripes I had, they were so minor. I'm not, I couldn't give it an 8 out of 8 only because I feel like having a perfect score, like I don't even know if there's a game, and maybe spoiler, I don't know if there's a game I would give a 100% score. Maybe there is, and I'm not going to spoil it because one day I might cover that game, but I would give this like a 7.5 out of 8. This is a quality game, and I think the only things I would say, you might get turned off if you're not good at video games. So, for example, if you just picked up Mega Man X, you're not looking at a walkthrough, you suck at video games, you're going to die a lot. And I think that's the only thing that might turn you off. But there's a lot of games like that are still really good. Like Elden Ring, I heard you die a lot. Haven't played it, but you die a lot, and people love that game. So this is like a 7.5, or maybe if I was being super hypercritical, 7 out of 8. But this game is so good, man. And I'm not even like the Mega Man super fan. This is me giving my honest, trying to give my honest opinion without letting my nostalgia get in the way. This game is good. And it doesn't get much better for a platformer. It really doesn't, So, yeah, awesome game. So that being said, I wanted to go into some they're not viewers, and I keep on saying viewers, by the way, and I should be saying listeners because this is an audio podcast. One of my friends gave me criticism over that, like, why do you keep saying viewers? Like, am I missing something? I'm like, okay, it's not viewers. This is an audio podcast. Listeners. And they're not, these guys aren't listeners. They're just people on Reddit who I ask their opinion and their different stuff. So feel free to chime in after each comment I read, and if you want to give your opinion on that comment. So the first comment is by Aware Selection 14.8. They say, it's my personal favorite Mega Man of all time. Pretty much everything about it I think is nearly perfect. It's incredibly replayable. It has fantastic sense of progression, has an incredible soundtrack, has a fantastically designed set of weapons, fantastic combat and enemy design, a sense of polish and care in every aspect of the game. My only issue is that that Bo Spider sucks. Okay, dude, I'm agreeing with this guy so far. The game introduced Spark Banjo Syndrome to Mega Man, and the frame rate occasionally gets slow. What's Spark Banjo Syndrome? What is that?
Honestly, that's the first time I'm hearing that term, so I have no idea.
I'm guessing I don't know, because they say the game has introduced Spark Banjo Syndrome to Mega Man, and the frame rate gets occasionally slow. You think it has something to do with the frame rate?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess so, just because he directly referenced frame rate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that relates to Spark Banjo.
Yeah, I don't know either. I would have to, maybe, does the frames drop during the fight with Spark?
I couldn't tell you because I generally just freeze him, and I don't remember the last time I beat him with just the Buster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I froze him too this time around. It was nice. So yeah, that was one thing I didn't address, and I guess that's another reason I might not give it like that 100% score, but it was a product of the time. There are certain parts of the game that the frame rate will get a little laggy. And it only lasts for a second, it's like, I remember a specific moment where you're like riding on one of the tracks and you're like flying through the level. Mm-hmm. Like it will slow down during that portion of the game.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you get all those enemies on the screen at the same time.
Yeah. But it didn't happen a lot, and it wasn't a game killer. It was very brief. The next comment says, it's by OK Brother 3282. They say, I was 9 and my older brother's friend brought it over for the SNES to play. I grew up playing Mario and Donkey Kong Country, so this was very new and exciting. From the opening stage, I was hooked. It had attitude and scared me bad when X got grabbed by Vile. The game communicated very well to me that I was tiny and this game was bigger than me somehow. For a 9-year-old to experience that was a bit scary, but so fun. I didn't and I couldn't beat Sigma Stage 1 until I was in my teens. Haha, great memories. So do you have any... yeah, go ahead.
I definitely see where he's going with that portion where the Vile just destroys you at the beginning of the game, essentially. There's no way to beat him or anything. I wouldn't say it scared me as a kid, but what it made me want to do was play as Zero, because he just came in and just blasted the heck out of that guy, you know?
Yeah.
Which made it really disappointing when I first played Mega Man X3 and when I eventually found out you could play as Zero. And I died and lost him forever.
Yeah, I think probably everyone probably gets that experience. I think Zero. I think everyone felt that with Zero too. When he goes up and just wrecks Vile in the beginning, you're like, dude, who's this guy? Like, why can't I play as that guy? Like, I want to be that dude. And he comes in with like this music. It's like this super cool rock theme music, and he just they make him out to be like this super cool character. So I do understand wanting to play him like in the beginning of the game. Is there any way to beat Vile in the beginning of the? I was wondering that. Is there any like way you could cheese that fight?
I'm 99% sure you can't. I've tried a lot when I was a kid, for sure, but I think it's just you just can't beat him. It's just how it's programmed.
I was kind of hoping there was like some sort of weird glitch or something that you could like kill him, but that's fine. You get to kill him later on.
Yep.
Jim Boy
or
Wolf.
So you think.
Right. Maybe he comes back. I mean, he seems like he would be a character. I call him Boba Fett. I know his name's Vile, but he has the Boba Fett helmet. I'm like, oh man, here he comes. Here comes Boba Fett again to kick my butt. Jimbo Wolf said, "This is my favorite upgrade armor of the series and in game. I think he looks best without the helmet upgrade." I did see later versions of the helmet. They do change it, right?
Yeah, every game has different versions all the way through X4. And then after X4, you get different variations within each game as well that you can swap between. So I believe as X5 through 8, you can get a couple different versions each. And then Mega Man X3 kind of has 2 versions too. It's a little different how they set it up there, but
yeah,
I can see where he's coming from, and I'm sure you can relate. When you go to like a video game store or something as a kid, you're judging the game off the box art for sure.
Yes.
And on Mega Man X, he's fully decked out in his armor. And then when you start the game, you're not decked out in your armor. So for me as a kid, I always wanted that full setup. That's what I wanted. I wanted him to look like he did on the cartridge or on the box.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I felt like the helmet upgrade in Mega Man X was really good. I think it looked good. I have seen later iterations where he kind of looks like Ultraman or something. Like he has like these spikes on his helmet, like these two big ears or something or antennas or whatever. I don't know if I'm like a big fan. And he also has like a wings on the back of his armor or something.
Yeah, I want to say that might have started in X4. Well, they're all different, so there's, it could have been any of them, really. I think the most casual-looking armors would be from Mega Man X1, 2, and 3, where there wasn't anything really protruding out of the armor all too much, where it looked cool, but it wasn't overbearing as well.
Yeah, I think I prefer those versions, at least from what I've seen. I don't really want Mega Man to look like a Gundam character per se. I just kind of want him to be like a cooler version of himself. And I think Mega Man X seemed to do that pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the next comment, Rockman Forte says, Mega Man X was the first game I owned. I played it every day. And when I thought I knew the game, a friend of mine told me about the Hadoken. I spent so much time trying to get it, and when I finally did, it was the best achievement ever. I've probably played this game more than any other game I've ever played. It clearly left a lasting impression on me. So that guy mentions the Hadoken just like you did. He was like saying that was like a cool thing that he could finally do, you know?
Absolutely. And that's kind of like I think I told you that Mega Man eventually gets the Z Saber from Zero from Mega Man X3. And that's a similar kind of thing where you have to do a certain amount of things in a certain sequence in able to get his sword. And that's the first time you get the what I'd call the Easter egg weapon in the series that isn't related to Street Fighter, because you can get another one in Mega Man X2. That's I think it's called the Shuriken or Shoryuken. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's the uppercut, flaming uppercut you can get in Mega Man X2 as well. And that's the same type of thing where you have to have the full amount of health. You have to input a certain fight command in order to do it, and it usually kills your enemies in one hit.
How cool is that? I'm so glad they did that. That's super cool. Yeah, we'll only read a couple more of these, but Stupid Black Plague Heart, I think is his name. I was a huge Mega Man kid on the NES, and I owned and beat all 6, including my never duplicated feat of beating 6 the other day I bought it. Or the day I bought it, sorry. Mega Man X was the third SNES game that I got after Legend of Zelda and MK2. I remember it felt like a natural progression from the NES games, and I was instantly in love with it. I loved the search for the E-tanks and the heart tanks and how the stages were no longer so linear. It's still a game I would play regularly, and I think it holds up 100% today. Brilliant level design and difficulty balance. Even though I'd say X2 is my personal favorite due to the air dash, Mega Man X is basically a perfect platformer. Oh, I didn't know they had an air dash in X2, so you can like fly through the air?
Yeah, so in this game, it's basically the first capsule that's given to you in Chill Penguin stage. You can't progress through the stage without getting it, is the boot upgrades that gives you the slide. In Mega Man X2 and all the games forward, slide is just your normal Mega Man ability. So when you have no armor on, you can still slide in all the following games. So when you get the boots, it's an extra ability on top of that, whether it's an air dash or a double dash upwards or what be it, X2 and X3 and everything else, you get a better dashing ability in comparison to X1.
Okay, and I just thought about this, but if this is your first time playing the game and you don't go to Chill Penguin first, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time without that dash, man. It's gonna be rough.
Yep.
I didn't even think about that. I kind of wish they would. I mean, they kind of point you in that direction. They kind of point you to do the octopus level first, which is kind of ironic. But second is Chill Penguin. So Egyptian M says, "Oh yeah, my favorite 16-bit games, if not my favorite. I remember playing it on the X Legacy Collection, and I had fun time learning its trick. But the moment that it is engraved in my brain is how the final stage you only have Sigma, and before that you get loaded before battling him, and he licked my arse until I turned on Rookie Hunter mode." So I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what he's talking about there, I guess, but he kind of.
So the Legacy Collection has a Rookie Hunter mode, which, if I remember correctly, it's either you take less damage or you inflict more damage on the players. It's an easy mode, essentially, is what it is. So any players that come into this that aren't good at the game can plug that in and have a pretty big advantage, I would say. I tried the Rookie Hunter mode once, and it was a little too easy for my taste.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, I can understand. So they did realize that this game was difficult for some people in the Legacy Collection, I guess, so they made an easy mode. But it sounds like if you're already experienced in Mega Man X, like you wouldn't need that. Yeah, so that, I guess we can kind of conclude it there. There was one more comment, but I think we've read enough. I wanted to give you the opportunity, and I don't know if you have any of these, but do you do any content creation online?
Nope. This is my first anything, honestly. So,
Okay, yeah.
congrats.
Yeah, I got to break your, I don't know, your content creation virginity or something. But that's
I'll
awesome.
take it.
I'm glad that you came on then. Yeah, I was gonna let you like plug something, but if you I just appreciate you coming on, and I will be doing more Mega Man X content or Mega Man content in the future. So I might have you back on for those too. Yeah, thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, to you or even the listeners who say that like Mega Man X is their favorite of all the Mega Man X games, if you haven't already, they actually did make a remake of the game in kind of a 3D 2D format.
Whoa, wait,
Still
what?
2D game, but with 3D sprites basically for the PlayStation Portable way back when. It was called it wasn't called Mega Man X, it's called Maverick Hunter X, and it's a
Oh.
full remake. It has full motion video, so there's more story to it, and it's basically the same game. If I remember right, there's a couple differences here and there, uh, just little things, but it's essentially the same game but remade. So if you're looking for a refreshing playthrough, I would suggest that.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. Is this like the version that you prefer to play now?
No, no, absolutely not. I love the original more, but when that first came out for the PlayStation Portable, I did get it, and I really enjoyed it because it was a whole new way of playing that game, a whole new look, more story. It was different, but it was the same game.
Okay, so it's a what would you call it? Like I forget I can't think of the term, but it keeps true to like the original. Then, like it's not like this like weird one off where it plays completely different.
No, it plays the same. It's just a different aesthetic with more story. And like I said, if I can't remember everything to the T there, but I believe there is a couple differences to set it apart, if you will, from the original.
I might have to go back and play that. I almost wish I would have like kind of played that yesterday if I knew about that, because I had beaten Mega Man X within 2 streams. Like it was within like maybe 4 hours or something like that, 4 or 5 hours. If I had known, I would have played that Maverick Hunt. Maybe I'll come back to that one then and check that one out. But yeah, thanks for letting us know. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Cool. Thanks. Well, folks, that's game over for this episode of Retro Reloaded. Thanks for joining me on this retro adventure. If you loved today's trip down memory lane, then consider helping me keep the nostalgia alive by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/retro reloaded. You'll get early episodes, bonus content, and a chance to pick the next game that we reload. Feel free to let me know your thoughts about the podcast, and until next time, keep those controllers charged.